my channel. So I have this one pair of pants that every single time that I wear them, you guys always want a tutorial for them. And since I made them when I was like 13 years old, they have gotten a bit short on me. So I thought today I would finally make a new pair, and that of course needs a tutorial. So for this project, you're going to need 2 yards of the fabric of your choice. I'm going to be working with this polyester suiting fabric that I got from Joann's. But you could totally use like a linen or something colorful if you'd want to. You just want to make sure that it has a nice drape to it because we're going to be adding pleats. And it also shouldn't be too thick or too thin, and it should be opaque so that it's not see-through, because you don't really want see-through pants. I mean, some people might, but that's not what we're doing here today. And yeah, 2 yards. And the design for this project is going to be pretty snazzy. These pants are going to have 2 pleats in the front, darts in the back, and then I think they're also going to be a bit of a wider leg because that's kind of the trend that I've been seeing, and I also like kind of doing something different from what I already made. And because they are going to have pleats, it's going to be pretty easy to like make them fit perfectly on you guys. So hopefully adjusting sizes won't be too hard on this pair, and they shouldn't be too hard overall. So I hope you guys give them a try, and let's get working. Right off the bat, I'm going to apologize. My camera was like having some sort of a time while I was filming this, so it kind of zooms in and out a little bit. But like always, I just patterned and cut out all the pant pieces. And there's actually not that many pieces for these, and they're not too hard to cut out either because they don't have to be like super fitted, like I said. So this is the first piece, and I'm just holding up the bottom because it's a little bit long. And you're going to cut 2 of these for the front. And then next up, this is the back piece, and it looks really similar to the front piece, except it doesn't have that little like fly cutout in the front, and the back is a little bit more of a curve at the top. These pieces here are the waistband and the fly, and the fly I have here on a fold, so I gave you those measurements because it has kind of a funny piece, and then the total length of the waistband should be 35 inches. And this is really the only tricky piece to cut out because these are the pockets for the front. So we have 2 different kinds of pockets that we have to cut out for this, and they're the same shape except one is going to have a little bit more of a slant on the front, and that should follow the same slant that we have on the front piece. And then the very back piece should go in slightly, but not quite as much as the front of the pants. It should be more of a slight curve. And these are the measurements for both of these pieces, and they're really, really similar, like I said, but one of them should just have like an inch less on the top, basically. And then this is the very last piece, and this is just a long scrap piece that I'm saving so that we can make it into belt loops later on. Now, before we get to sewing, this portion of today's video is sponsored by Klarna, and Klarna is a global payments and shopping service that provides you with a smarter and more flexible shopping and purchasing experience. Klarna has a free-to-install Google Chrome extension that helps you get automatic coupons and cash back at checkout when you're shopping at your favorite online stores. And they've also partnered with over 250,000 merchants to make sure that you get the most seamless experience. And I have to say, Klarna's automatic coupons is definitely my favorite feature because they make sure that you're never overpaying because you can shop exactly like you normally do, and then when you reach the checkout, they will automatically be searching for all of the best coupons and cash back rates and apply them to your cart so that you always get the best price. And they also offer a bunch of different payment options when shopping, so you can choose the one that benefits you the most. So they have a pay in 4 option. They also offer a pay in 30 days, and Klarna also has a mobile app which allows you to log in, track all your purchases, pay in 4 anywhere, set price alerts on saved items, browse exclusive deals, and get rewards on every purchase. So if you guys are ready to get Klarna for yourselves and start saving some deals, you can click the link in my description box or go to klarna.com/PaperStxrs to add Klarna to any device. Thank you to Klarna for sponsoring this video, and now it is back to sewing. Okay, well, it's finally time to start sewing up these pants. So the first pieces I'm going to be working with are the front pieces and the front pocket pieces. So I'm going to take my front pieces and the smaller pocket pieces, and I'm going to be laying these pieces together, matching up this diagonal angle here, and I'm just going to sew down this side here. And then I'm going to flip the pocket over to the back side, fold down this edge, and top stitch it down. And now I'm going to fold this over to the back side and make it lay nice and flat. And then I'm going to bring in one of our other pockets without the diagonal and lay it down on top. And I'm going to match up all of these seams so that we know that these are in the right spots. And then I'm going to pin these pieces together and stitch down these 2 edges. But when we're sewing this, we want to make sure that we're lifting the pocket up away from the pants, so we're only sewing the pocket during this part. And I'm going to serge these raw edges to help them not fray, but you could also use a zigzag stitch. And we're actually almost already done with these pockets. All that's left to do is put a basting stitch across this top edge here and this side edge here to hold it in place. And now we have these beautiful front pockets. And next we're going to start combining our front and back pieces. So I'm going to take one of my front pieces and one of my back pieces and put these pretty side to pretty side. And I'm going to pin them and sew them together down this seam here and this seam here, all the way down. And again, after I sew these seams, I'm also going to serge their edges. Now that both sides of our pants have been sewn, I'm going to take one of them and turn it right side out, and I'm going to put it inside of the one that is inside out. And then I'm going to match up these seams around this curved edge here and pin those together, and then I'm going to continue pinning these pieces all around this curved edge. And then I'm going to sew around this curved edge, but I'm going to stop about here on the front with this kind of flap because this is where our fly is going to go. And so I'm going to backstitch here and cut off my thread and switch my machine to a basting stitch and then continue sewing all the way up. And now when you turn these pieces out, we have something that is starting to resemble pants. And next up, I think we're going to work on the fly. And for this, you're going to just need a regular zipper. Mine is 6 inches long, and putting in flies is actually not as hard as most people think it is. So I stopped my regular stitches about here, so I'm going to open up my fly and lay it out nice and flat. And I'm going to take my zipper and put it face down, and I'm going to match up the side of my zipper to the right side of the fly. And I'm going to place the bottom right where I stopped sewing. And then I'm going to pin the right side of the zipper in place. And now I'm just going to lift up this side of the fly and sew down the right side of the zipper. I'm also switching out my regular foot for a zipper foot so that I can get a little bit closer to those edges. And now that the right side of it has been sewn, I'm going to lift up the zipper and fold it over to the left side, and I'm going to pin down the left side of the zipper and sew it in place. Again, making sure to lift up the flap so that we're not actually catching the pants at all. And now that that's been sewn, I'm going to turn my pants right side out, and I'm going to push the fly over to the right side and make everything lay nice and flat again. And then I'm going to pin these edges down so that we can do the classic little fly top stitching. And I'm going to make sure to start it right where I stopped stitching my regular stitches. It's just going to curve around and then go straight up. And I'm actually going to do 2 rows of stitching just to add a little bit of extra detail. And now that the fly has been sewn, we can go ahead and take out our basting stitches. And now you should be able to unzip our fly. There is one more little step though that we're going to do to our fly just to make it a little bit nicer. And basically we're just going to add in a panel here so that when you unzip it, you don't just have nothing here. And to do that, we're going to take the fly piece that we cut out earlier, and I'm going to fold it in half and stitch around these edges here. And then I'm just going to trim this piece and turn it right side out. And I think I'm also going to add a top stitch around this piece just to make it lay nice and flat. And now that this piece has been sewn, I'm going to bring our pants back in and undo the fly, and basically just top stitch this piece down to hold it in place. And now our fly is totally done and looking super professional. Alright, so here is the first try on of the pants. And I already added some darts in the back because that part is going to be a little bit easier to do with them not on us. And I'm really happy with the fit of these here because you still want the side seam to obviously fit right down the side of the hip. So you want to make sure that we're taking enough in the back. And I took in, I think, 2 inches on either side. And now we're going to add the pleats into the front. So we want the pleats to be facing away from us. So I'm just going to kind of pin these in place and make sure that the pants are obviously fitted enough. And like I said, I'm going to try to do 2 kind of smaller pleats on either side. And once we're happy with the placement, we can go ahead and take these off. Alright, and now this is what your pants should be looking like. So we have these pins in the front and these pins in the back. And for the ones on the front, I seam ripped those basting stitches that we put in earlier to hold the pockets in place. Because you don't want to pleat the pockets, I basically just put the pleats in front and then pinned the pockets to the back. And now I'm just going to put a basting stitch across all of these layers again. And while I'm sewing both of those, I'm also going to sew in my darts in the back with a regular straight stitch. And now this is what our pants should be looking like. So snazzy! Next up, I think we should start working on the waistband. And the way I usually do this to get the best fit is I turn it right side out and I pin the first edge, which is going to just be straight. And I mark exactly where I'm going to sew it. And then I'm going to unzip the pants and line it up with the first side of the fly. And then I'm going to wrap this all the way around my pants so I know exactly how big the waistband should be. And then once I reach the other edge, I'm just going to mark it. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to mark where the side seams line up because we want to take the sides in a little bit so that it fits our waist nice and snug. And then at the waist points, I'm going to open this up and fold it in half this way and mark the center of it. And now we're going to kind of just sew a triangle that takes it in at the waist a little bit, but the end doesn't take it in at all. So I'm going to start here, go down until I reach the center, pivot and go back the other way, stopping about 1/2 inch away from either side. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to straight stitch down those other sides. And then you can turn this right side out, and I'm going to take this piece to the iron. So this camera decided to just like not get this footage for some reason, but basically all I did is I folded this piece in half and then I folded both of the raw edges up in towards each other and ironed this down so we could get a finished hem all along the edge. And now that our waistband has been all ironed out, we can bring our pants back in and start pinning the waistband all around the top edge. And once our waistband has been pinned all around, we can go ahead and sew it all together. And if you can still see your basting stitches after everything has been sewn, you can go ahead and just take them out. And these pants are looking really, really nice. And now the next step is I'm just going to add a button on the top to finish up the waistband. And next up we're going to be making our belt loops, so I'm just going to take this fabric strip that I cut out and I'm going to fold either raw edge in towards the middle and then fold this piece in half, and then I'm just going to pin these edges together and sew down either side. And now that these have been sewn, I'm going to cut them into pieces about this big for our belt loops, and I'm going to cut mine into 7 pieces. And now on our pants, the placement for all of our belt loops is we're going to put one on the center of the back, one on the back side of the center seam, and then I typically just do one on the front right here, but I think this time for this style I'm going to do 2 next to each other. And I'm just going to take one of my belt loops and fold over the top edge, stitch it down and then fold up the bottom edge and also stitch it down. And they should extend a little bit past the waistband. And now the very last step to do on these pants is going to be trimming them to the length that you want them and then adding a hem all the way around. And here are the finished pants. I have to say, you guys, I think I like this pair of pants better than like the original pair that I made. These ones fit me so nicely, and I really like the two pleats on the front, and to make them a little bit more casual than the last one, I had like the button on the front instead of doing a zip up in the back. And they honestly just turned out so perfectly. I think they look super cool and super trendy, and I'm really into like the really wide leg. And they of course have a super giant pocket that actually fits your entire phone on the front. Like all pockets should. Like seriously, the pant industry needs to check themselves. But anyway, I hope you guys like this tutorial just as much as I do. And if you give it a try, please send me a picture on Instagram. I love seeing all your creations. And I think because school is starting up and my life's getting a little bit hectic right now, I am going to go down to posting one video every 2 weeks for a little bit. So stick around, and I hope you look forward to the next tutorial. Bye!